Hey YouTube and other social media sites. I gladly present to you a bunch of topics. Decide not to really just post so many videos and I can just put this all on one. A lot of things I have to share is just really brief, so decided to just put it all into one video and just publish it to you all. I'm going to be talking about such things like of course, like biblical facts, into archaeology, historical documents, dinosaurs, going back to the paleontology facts. That's a lot of things. Some things can be, of course, entertaining, like some of my videos, edifying too, and educate you in a way that, you know, is something that's awesome to know, and maybe it inspires you to really do your own research and study, because a lot of things that can be posted online is necessarily not even true. It's been a while ago, like so long ago. No, has it been? Well, I don't know. But it's just some things I run into, like some things I hear and I run into, and I decide to, like, okay, I'm gonna tell this individual this is not correct. And sometimes you, of course, you know, in the scriptures, you have to use the scriptures to tell this individual, okay, in a gentle and a compassionate way, that what you're saying is entirely not true, it's simply falsehood. And those who hear it, you know, it can poison their spirituality, their walk with Christ. So that's why I always tell people, I don't know how many times I said it on YouTube, is to know the word for yourself. Not just to know it, you know what I'm saying, to build your brain, but to do it so you can build your heart. Even in the book of James, it says, don't just be hearers of the word, but doers also. I'm going to be probably going back and forth talking to you and doing this work. Here, I'm going to just show you. I'm just categorizing it. This is actually from Germany. This is a platter of Jacob and Joseph. In the year 1670. This is from our art museum here in Milwaukee, and I'm going to show you a whole bunch of stuff on here. Again, I'm just, you know, kind of like different topics, and you'll know which one is which. But yeah, first thing I want to talk about is traditions and speculations. Over time, traditions are often developed in an effort to satisfy our curiosities about subjects. While it isn't necessarily wrong to speculate about such matters, we need to remember that they are nothing more than speculations, and we must make sure that these ideas do not contradict Scripture. The Tower of Babel. I always wanted to know where was the Tower of Babel, and if it still exists, like it's still standing. There's been known pictures of a ziggurat. And it's awesome how they were able to just build these monumental structures, and it's still standing to this day. Coming to my conclusion, the Tower of Babel actually was in Turkey. And I'm going to show you pictures of this place. It existed up until, I believe, either the 80s or the 90s. And that's when the Turkish government simply flooded the entire area. But it kind of looked like a volcano. It kind of like a volcano, and it's not like the Tower of Pisa, the Leaning Tower in Italy, it did not look like that, how it's shaped in certain depictions in history. But it kind of like had a form. It was like a form of volcano. But it kind of, I don't understand why would the government would get rid of that. You know, like, why would the government flood that entire area, knowing that that's such an archaeological discovery? I don't know. I can't say. And there has been terrorists, specifically ISIS, that destroyed some biblical discoveries, like a certain land piece, and they kind of backfired on them because the area that they blew up underneath is where they found the actual treasures. At the crossing of the Red Sea, there is actually a tower. Well, I'm not going to say a tower, but like a pillar there. And a lot of people want to know where the crossing of the Red Sea is, where Moses and his led the deliverance of his own people, the Hebrews. There stands a pillar that King Solomon mounted as a historical site of his ancestors that was able to leave Egypt, to be delivered by the hand of God out of Egypt into the Promised Land. But with the Tower of Babel, remember, everybody simply moved eastward to the land of Shinar. That's where they built the tower. That's where everybody came into one, formed like a one world government, whatever, and everybody just came together. They spoke the same language, but God came down to confuse the language, and therefore they couldn't really build a tower anymore. I can actually give you the coordinates to the exact location of the Tower of Babel. Right now, it's just like I said, it's flooded. You know, it's, I don't know, maybe it's a lake or something. But if you were to maybe go back, like in a timeline to like maybe early 90s or 80s or something like that, if you can, or 70s probably, you can actually see the air. You can actually see it like a tower. Like you can actually see it like I said, it looks like a volcano, but it's not a volcano. It's actually the Tower of Babel. Abraham, well, it was Noah and his sons. Abraham came from the lineage of Shem, Noah's son. Noah, and then of course after everybody dispersed throughout Mesopotamia, you know, what is known as modern day Iraq, Kuwait, Turkey, that's where Mesopotamia was. Actually, Mesopotamia means the land of two rivers, the Euphrates River and the Tigris River. Further south, like southeast, is Ur of Chaldeans. That's where Abraham is from. And then from there, you know, his family, you know, moved upward. But not just came up with this thought that if you look at Abraham is not even a Jew. He's not even an Israelite. Like, he's what we call biblically a Gentile. It is out of his seed that came forth the Hebrews, that came forth the Jews, came forth Jesus. So I kind of look at it as amazing how God can just take someone and make an entire nation, and then out of that nation, a savior. And this man, Abraham, wasn't even an Israelite. I believe that one of the main reasons why some people leave Christianity, they just simply give up because not of Jesus, not of God. Sometimes it can be that what God isn't doing for them, but I believe that the main primary reason why some people leave Christianity is because of the contradicting and the ignorance of Christians. You cannot look at Christians and judge God. You can't, because what you are looking at is imperfection, and imperfection has no right of way to judge perfection. even two perfect people, I'm sorry, even two imperfect people cannot produce something perfect. We are perfect in our own way, but it does not mean that we are a professional, because even a professor is not entirely all-knowing like God is. So when you, now again, I spoke about this, I think the video was called Christianity, criticism, something like that. I posted on here. There's so many videos that sometimes I don't even remember what I did, but there's this saying that many of us was told when we were young, and it was, if you don't have nothing nice to say, then don't say anything at all. Like, don't say nothing. And Jesus spoke about this too in Matthew chapter 12, verse 34. He said that, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So if you really want to know what's on a person's heart, you listen to them. Because when you listen to them, you're hearing words from their heart. So if an individual simply is just negative all the time, just have nothing nice to say about nobody, that's, oh man, just entirely rude. Why would you want to keep company with an individual like that, knowing that it can also spread amongst you? You can also partake in that, and you start to act like them. This is a very rich statement for a lot of sensitive people, and that's why sometimes they are not really associated with anybody. It's like they become friends with angels and God himself, because they are entirely so sensitive that they can't really develop rightfully with the person that is negative. It's like an itch that cannot be scratched. It's like they're just kind of like irritated all the time. They have to leave. Sensitive people are like that, and it's not that they're acting funny. It's just that they can't be around negative folks. And you be able to understand that, you be able to know that when you actually listen to them, like a person that always speaking lies and want to brag about themselves in a prideful manner. It's like, you listen to them, you know that their heart's about pride, because it's always about them. And if you find yourself like this, again, it's easy to see someone else's faults, but it makes it hard for you because you don't have a mirror in front of you all day. Like, you don't have a mirror. So it's like, you can always tell someone else what to do and what not to do, but then are you even doing the same? Thank you, God. Remember when Jesus said this? He said this, was it a parable? He kind of spoke in a parable. He said that first, get the log out of your own eye, and then you're able to take the speck out of your brother's eye or out of your friend's eye. And what he mean by that, you got to compare it, a speck, something that is small, to something that is so large. So it's like, before you get the speck out of your brother's eye or out of your friend's eye, whoever, make sure you get that log, that big problem out of your own eye. You get what I'm saying? Before you try to help someone else. When Jesus preached, I can just imagine during that time, like, he caught the masses' attention, because even the people that was actually in the synagogues, it was like, this man speaks with authority. Like, he does not speak like, some other people. This dude speaks with authority. But it's just so much compassion, because, again, he is the embodiment of love. Make sure that your heart is in the right place. What did Saul do that he happened to lose his reign as king? And it was supposed to be given to his son Jonathan, but yet he died with his father. David. Compare Saul's deed, that he lost his kingdom from disobedience. That was it. He's supposed to do something, but he did not do it. He was supposed to slay everybody, everything, but he did not. He preserved some of the stuff, and even the king that Samuel decided, that Samuel had to kill. But even though Saul was supposed to do it, he didn't take orders, right? Compare that to someone that just a simple disobedient moment, to David, who actually, again, David, forgive me, but I'm just using it as a talk, but David killed the man, slept with another man's wife, then killed the man. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we can always see that one outweighs the other. But why did Saul lose the kingdom from disobedience, and yet David did this wicked thing that can be like, wow, this is just too much. You know what I'm saying? But how was he able to still be king and not Saul? It's because David's heart was in the right place. I mean, yeah, he screwed up. Like me and you, we screwed up many times, but our heart is your heart in the right place. And that's what we really don't get, because God looks at the inward things while us human beings look at the outward. You know, sometimes a person can have a grand, like oh my God, like a huge ministry. And the first thing many criticize is that, you know, how was he able to do this, and he was locked up for that, or like look at his debt, or he cheated on his, you know what I'm saying? Like we look at his person's past, but yet his heart is in the right place. That's why God was able to bless him with much. Compared to someone that's always being so negative, and this, we call that here a person with a nasty attitude, because like your nasty attitude is not going to attract God. It's going to attract negative, something just nasty. It's funny because it started with an N, but like even the negative sign is like it's taken away, and it's taken away from your goodness because you have a bad attitude. You have a rude behavior. Then compared to someone that has a positive sign about themselves, a righteous aurora, and that plus sign is in the shape of a cross. They're righteous. So you got to make sure that your heart is in the right place. It's like, again, it's easy to always look at and assume somebody else's lifestyle, but you have to look in the mirror and first get that log out of your own eye. I used to get a lot of questions like, you know, how are you able to know these verses, you know, back and forth, or, you know, to be honest with you, I don't do it for show. I never did. I would rehearse the word and do my best to fulfill it by my actions. I can name so many verses to you right now and quote them, but again, what good is that for you? And what good is that for me if I don't do it? And I think that, I don't think, but I know for sure that is what puts a smile and give God great glory, is that when we do these two things, when we are obedient and when we love one another. This is a clear sign that you know that you love God. And it's not by your feelings, because love is not just about feelings, and it's also not about words, but it's of actions. I mean, what Jesus said, those who love me is the ones that keep my commands. The one who loves me, my Father will love him, and I too will love him, and I will reveal myself to him. So what he just said, just that first sentence, is that the ones who love me is the one who keeps my commands. And what is his command? It's to love God and love one another. We call that the golden commandment. So if you know that you love God, then you got to be sure that you are fulfilling the commandment of loving him and loving one another. Again, it's not about feelings. I'm pretty sure I have known some people that were in an abusive relationship. I'm not going to get so involved into that kind of statement, but the abusers will always have a word of saying, I love you, though. I mean, I kind of see it in movies. We all have heard about it, but it's like they would say, I love you, though. But yet you're still beating on this individual. So how can you love them and yet still beat on them? really you're saying that because you have feelings for the person, but yet you're still hurting them. Again, that is no form of love in that relationship at all. So again, love is about actions. And that's how we are able to put a smile on God's face and give him great glory, is when we are obedient and that we can love one another. Oh yeah, one of the crazy disputes. I think I did a couple of Jesus videos, but there's one specifically about focus on Jesus, not his complexion. And I also did another one that was called Jesus is Red, Controversy Complexion. I want to say something. I just really hope that you can just listen and listen and listen. Is it really important to know Jesus' complexion? If he was white, like if he came to a person, if he's white, is he still worthy of worship? What if Jesus was black? I'm talking about Bernie Mac black. Like, close your eyes, that's how black he is. Would you still love him? And that was the main reason why I made those two videos, because his skin complexion is not important. Matter of fact, when you are actually in his presence, your flesh is not gonna be glorified. It's your spirit, man. It's you. It's the real you that's gonna be happy to see him. You're not gonna say, "Oh, you're actually olive color. You're actually brown." No, because I tell you this: people who have actually seen him don't argue about his skin color. It's those who have, again, with not saying being negative, but it's those who really don't understand his mission and his commission for us to go out there and preach the gospel, not preach about his skin color. That's also another reason why I made that title, Jesus is Red, because it's his blood that was more important than the color of his skin. Matter of fact, when he was on the cross, you can actually barely see his skin. So why would anybody want to get into this speculation and dispute because of his skin color? Actually, you can go into ancient art, like what in Russia, in the catacombs in Rome. Jesus is dark. I mean, this brother looked like the dude that, on the Soul Glow commercial. Like, he looked like one of the Jackson 5s, but still. And then you got other paintings of Jesus being white. What importance is that? Again, this argument comes from those who really want to prove something. What is that to prove? Like, even history know that he exists. Our timeline, what year are we in? Year 2020 AD. Abdadomya, day of our Lord. You know what I'm saying? It's, again, BC, before Christ. Now, sadly, history tried to change it, or probably has changed it to BCE, which is before Common Era, and then CE as Common Era. But again, like, history proved that Jesus exists. What more do we need to say? It's his blood that is important. His blood was shed for us. His skin was shredded for us. And there's been many times that I have seen Jesus in my dreams. Seen him. The only thing I can tell you is that he is beautiful. When you read Revelation chapter 1, starting at verse 13, 14, and 15, John gives a clear description of his glorified appearance. Again, I'm going to say it again. His glorified appearance. His hair was white as wool. And I also should tell you that his feet was as bronze that has been burned in the furnace. Now, of course, we know that bronze that's been burned in the furnace is black. But that is a little bit more, there's more spiritual. You have to look at that as a spiritual perspective. You know what I'm saying? Why was his hair white as wool? You get what I'm saying? So it's like you can't really look at that in the natural, because when John seen him, John was not in the natural. John was caught up in the spirit. His blood is more important than anything. whether if he's white or black, olive color, doesn't really matter. He loves you. That's what's more important. He died for you. That's the greatest love ever for anybody can show, is that when a man can lay down his life for his friends, there's no greater love than that. And Jesus proved that to us. Now, there's a difference between crying and weeping. Crying is sadness, sorrow. Weeping, on the other hand, it's an extreme expression of your emotions due to a disappointment. Remember when Jesus wept? When Lazarus died and people loved Lazarus, Jesus wept. It's that Peter wept. Peter had that bitter, he wept bitterly. That's what scripture say. But I wanted to ask you, well, you may already know, but why did he weep? Why did he weep like that? Jesus, we all know that as you read the Gospels of Jesus Christ, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Peter was the guy that was always talking. He was more on the defense of Christ. I kind of look at him as Jesus' bodyguard. I mean, he was the only apostle that carried a knife and sliced another guy's ear off. For touching Jesus. So he was always on the defensive side. He was always the one talking. And always again, he had so much love for Jesus. That's no lie. He really had so much love for Jesus. When Jesus said, "Come," as far as when he was walking on the water, that was a command for them to come out there. He said, "Come," and therefore Peter was the only one to just able to get out of the water while everybody else stayed in the boat. So Peter took that invitation as something personal, like a bet. I mean, it was really for everybody else, because Jesus was the only one that said, "Come." That was for everybody. But again, Peter just said, "Okay, I'm going." But yeah, Peter had that about himself as being like one of the strongest apostles. Simon, Zealots. Zealots are people who were into, like, back then, the Jewish Zealots. They're like more of they're not necessarily crime fighters, but they are the ones who take part in a protest. And sometimes it does not ends in peace. It ends in chaos. So, like, I'm pretty sure you heard about the protesters around the news. They're the ones that, like, burning stuff or want to just killing cops with or stuff like that, or just destroying certain public places. Those are what Zealots is. That's what that's what Simon was. You got Simon Peter, and you got Simon, the Zealot. Well, so there's two different things. But the reason why Peter wept so bad is when he knew that, when Jesus already knew that he was going to deny him 3 times that you ever knew me. Peter didn't take that. He was like, whatever, yeah, I'm going to still, I'm going to still die for you no matter what. But Peter was afraid. Something happened while he was outside of the courts. Him probably hearing Jesus crying, being beat. And Peter at the time probably didn't want to be a part of that. And that's why he said, "No, I don't know him." Because if he would have said yes, he would have joined right in with him. The reason why Peter wept bitterly is because he hurted someone who he truly loved. That is the reason why Peter wept. Many of you maybe never experienced hurting someone and then weeping after. But I have seen that firsthand. I'm not going to get into the story. I'm not going to get into all that. But when you hurt someone that you really love, and not just by words or feelings, but something on a grander scale, you hurt a part of yourself. It's like betraying someone who trusts you and live right by you. And that's what Jesus did. He covered his disciples everywhere they went. While one betrayed him and killed himself, the other one denied them 3 times. Remember when I was speaking about, is your heart in the right place? And I kind of gave you a little history segment with Saul and David, and how Saul did the most. I'm sorry, how David did the most, and while Saul just disobeyed and whatever, stuff like that. His heart was in the right place as far as David. You got 2 men before Jesus was crucified. One of them betrayed him, handed over to the enemy, while the other one denied him, that I don't know you. But one killed himself, even though he had a chance to repent. And trust me, the disciples was imperfect in all their ways. Maybe some, but they screwed up a lot. Like us. Like if Jesus was amongst us, we would still be in our natural form. Sometimes with our carnal minds. And it just takes his kindness to just really correct us, discipline us with mercy. And that's why there's no room for criticism. Because this man actually denied that he knew Jesus. But yet in return, he had so much sorrow in his heart because he disappointed the one he loved. And that's just something to think about. Think about those who you love in your family, those who you love in your household, maybe your children. Just think about them. And imagine you just giving them up to the enemy. And when they're gone, you realize, like, I should never have done that. So that's the reason why I'm having this message. Is if you love someone, just do right by them. Just do right by them. That's all. Being effective does not mean perfection. It just means that you are good at what you do. You are great at sustaining your ability to be able to make a difference, not just in your life, but in someone else's or in the world. When you look at civil rights leaders, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, who else? Dr. Martin Luther King. These people already changed themselves, and therefore they took that right, that freedom of speech, and to uplift the African American community. In the sense of Dr. Martin Luther King, he wanted to unite individuals, blacks and whites, and to end discrimination and segregation. And during those times, 60s and 70s, they had to undergo some sort of persecution that we may not even understand now. I mean, death threats or lynchings. That's something that can be so foreign to us, but yet when we look into the past and look at those black and white photos and videos, that's something frightening, knowing that this may be your last day. And yet out of the ashes, someone had to rise up with such power to make a difference. And that's where we get these civil rights leaders. Jack Johnson, Mike Tyson. You know, these guys hit with so much power. But have you ever asked yourself, what made them become great? What made them become good at what they do? Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, so many martial artists, Jean-Claude Van Damme, who's another one? Scott Adkins, Denzel Washington, Will Smith. Like, what made them great at what they do? Even though they were inspired by someone that they truly looked up to, Morgan Freeman, for instance, they had their own gifts, and it's what got them before great people. It's what got them to win these Oscars and awards and recognitions and so much glamour and attention. And it's like every day they're on the spotlight. They were good at what they do. They weren't trying to be a replica. They weren't trying to be like someone else. They probably wanted to make a name for themselves. Norse Atlantic explorer by the name of Leif Erikson, son of Eric the Red. By history's account, he was the only one to sail to North America and actually settle there. There was a man that Leif Erikson, his father, Eric the Red, had a friend by the name of 𝙆𝙤𝙤𝙤𝙤𝙤. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing his name. I'm kind of bad at that, but 𝙆𝙤𝙤𝙤, he was actually looking for his father, and something happened where he was off course and he wound up seeing what is known as Canada, but he didn't really take an interest into landing there, although the men that he sailed with was like, was just persuading him to go, let's see this place. He went back to, like I said, look for his father, and he wanted to find his father, and he told people what was going on, what happened. They didn't really take an interest until Leif Erikson decided, like, I'm going to take some men over there, like, we're gonna see what's happening. But yeah, he became the first settler to reach this continent, North America. I'm sorry, it's just so much going on right now. I got work to finish up and stuff, but I just want to just do this video, so forgive me if I'm like spacing out or mispronouncing the words. But yeah, in this, Christopher Columbus is another one. With his 4 voyages. As a matter of fact, just historically speaking, Africans have been here quite often in North America, Central America, the West Indies. Christopher Columbus had said that there's actually dark-skinned people with gold-tipped spears, and he was on a quest for 3 things: gold, for God, and for glory. God, because he wanted to spread the Catholicism, the Christian faith. For gold, because that was his main thing, was trying to get that, asking around with the Indians and natives and stuff, and you know the story. And for glory of Spain, to expand the Spaniard Empire. An Italian explorer, John Cabot. He was sponsored by King Henry VII of Britain, and he also came upon North America. It's another guy, another Italian explorer. His name was Amerigo Vespucci. He heard about the discoveries of the Newfoundland, West Indies, the New World, sort of say, with Columbus, and found out that Columbus kind of had it wrong, that this was not really India, but yet so he kind of like really, I can sort of say, rediscovered, which is kind of weird because like it's like going outside and discovering a car. Like, it can get you 10 years, in prison, but it's like they're discovering land for their own empire. That is how we have America, is by him. I could get into a lot more, but just for the sake of this video. Again, these are people, these explorers, Neil Armstrong. These people set a stone in history, and we live to reap the benefits of their reward because they done it, so could we. And we are inspired by that. But it does not make an excuse for us to be like them because they already done it. Walking in someone else's footsteps is a lot easier than making your own track. But you can be the first person to actually do something different. Maybe in your family, or even just historically speaking, that you can be the first person to do something grand, and not for the sake of attention. Don't do it for attention. When I did YouTube, I didn't expect some videos to really be so popular. I didn't do it for attention. It was really for the benefit of mankind, the strengthening and the edification of the faith. I mean, I'm not the perfect speaker. Pretty sure you guys who've been following me for so long, already know that, but I'm not the most eloquent speaker, even though I try to do my best. There is so much out there for you. I'm one of a kind. You are one of a kind. Therefore, you don't need to follow after anybody and do what they do. Do your own thing. You have your own gifts. Just be you. For some years, I've been realizing that I've been living by these 3 E's. Sometimes in a norm. It's education, exercise, and entertainment. If we have too much exercise, we lower the standard of entertainment. Therefore, we would just be so burnt out. And it's like, we gotta rest. You get what I'm saying? If we are very smart, education, we build that up, and everything else like exercise and entertainment is lowered down. It's like, our brains need to have rest too. We need to take a break. Jesus created entertainment for our good. Therefore, education, exercise, and entertainment, it has to be balanced in our lives. You can be smart, but you can also die very young if you are unhealthy. So having those 3 in your life and keeping it balanced, whether if it's up here or down here, just try to keep it balanced, where you can get up every morning and work out, come home, do some reading, studying, then you can relax, sports or entertainment, TV or something, games, whatever. You got to keep it balanced. There's actually this show on Netflix that I just finished watching. It's called The Game Changers, and this guy goes he just explores the scientific realm of being a vegetarian. I mean, just to put it just all into one. And I'm like, wow, this is a guy on there that was 60 years old. His body looked like he was maybe a 25-year-old dude. I mean, this guy was ripped. This is one of the strongest men in the world. Kind of looked like me a bit. I was tripped up because he looked like a huge Wolverine. And I'm like, man, and I've been a meat eater since I was a kid. I'm like a mini dinosaur, a mini T-Rex. So just learning that stuff, and those are things that I have never heard of before. And I didn't know that you can actually still build muscle while you're just being a vegan. I did not know that. I didn't. Again, that's where that education comes from. Just taking that in, being entertained by something I can be educated by, and then actually going out there doing it, exercising. So, and I say this to benefit myself and mankind, that don't be the kind of people to just harvest so much knowledge, knowing this, knowing that, and never doing it. That's like watching so many YouTube videos, laying down or sitting down all day, and you're not learning nothing from it, or you're not really doing anything from it. So can you imagine just someone that wants to exercise? Let's just say someone that just wants to exercise, but they're sitting down all day. They know what to eat. They know what they're supposed to do. They know they may have a gym in their location. You are being fed so much knowledge, but yet you don't have the wisdom to actually do it. And that's what wisdom is. Wisdom is the power of knowing what to do. Knowledge is the power of knowing, but wisdom is the power to actually do it. So don't fill your mind up with so much information that you don't have no directions to go in. If you are on an unhealthy side, if you're cholesterol is kind of high, if you know any sort of health issues, just know that you are still able to change that. The Netflix show is called The Game Changers. I don't know how long it's going to be on, but it's so. I was just shocked to see that, and I was like, wow. But again, do something. I mean, we all know that this COVID thing, has closed some places down, and we don't know when the next time, our local gyms can be closed. Planet Fitness, Experience Fitness was closed for a while, I believe. Yeah, for a while. And some of them are actually back open depending on what state you're in. Go for it. If you want to just go to certain gyms for free, I can actually send you matter of fact, I'll put in the description box below. I'll write that down so I won't forget. I'll put in the description box below that you can actually go to these gyms. And I have been doing it for a while. Like, you can go to gyms and stuff like that. Just you can get a trial, like a week trial or a day trial, and just experience, what I'm saying, just for your improvement. Gym free pass, that's what I'll just call it. So just check underneath the description box below. It is legit. It is. Done it plenty of times. But yeah. I was taught, and I believe me and you were taught that, in preschool, that mankind and dinosaurs did not coexist. Dinosaurs actually mean terrible lizards. Then why do we have these drawings? I won't say prehistoric drawings, maybe, but why we have these, mankind was like hunting these dinosaurs. And I was just profound, like, well, these things actually exist. In the book of Job, it talked about a behemoth. And Leviathan was probably like a dragon or something. And I was like, or a sea serpent, sort of say. And I was just surprised to know that. So, have you ever seen? It's these pictures, like an ancient art of Saint Michael. Slaying a dragon. That actually represents good overcomes evil, or righteousness that prevails over wickedness. And there's also another picture of a guy by the name of Saint George. Saint George was, of course, a saint, but he was actually a Roman soldier born in Turkey. And there's many pictures of him slaying a dragon, and this was back in the late 3rd century AD. So with these sea serpents and dinosaurs, I was looking at the Loch Ness monster, but I do believe that dinosaurs do exist. But I'll probably say they're actually hidden. They're hidden from mankind, because knowing that what people could do is that they would just kill these things off and just mount it on in the museum. It's sad, like even with poachers that goes to Africa, just killing these rhinos. These rhinos, like, they're just a horn. Costs like what? I think the guy on there, he said like 40,000 pounds. It sucks, because like they're almost in danger, like they're almost extinct. But yeah, with dinosaurs, man, yeah. But with according to like Saint Michael and why he Saint of the Dragon, you have to go to Revelation chapter 12, verse 7 through 9. That kind of like gives you like an illustration, like the war in heaven, and then that's where we get pictures, like the ancient art of him having a knife towards a dragon's throat, just slaying it. So, but yeah, it'd be real cool to see a dinosaur. Hopefully a plant eater one. A few weeks ago, I came across a comment, and someone said drinking wine is a sin. I kind of laugh about that because I realized that it was just from, not to categorize people, but it's from those who have no educated experience on Scripture. And I do not say that out of arrogance, but I do say that with discernment, because if you can say to someone drinking wine is a sin and it causes others to believe it, you will start to believe more of what people say than what God says. Because scripturally, biblically, Jesus did not sin, though he was tempted. He drank wine, but he was not drunk. You're saying drunkenness is a sin, not drinking wine. But know the scriptures for yourself. You don't want to get into the habit of believing people's words and not having enough time to read what God says or even hearing his voice, because you're so in tune with the opinions of people that their words become a God to you. There's nothing wrong if you decide to listen to sermons. There's nothing wrong with that. God set before us shepherds after our own heart. Prophets, prophetess, apostles, preachers, teachers, deacons, all of that. But have that time where you can read for yourself. Because some people can speak out of bitterness, and there can be some that can speak out of ignorance. 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 3 through 5. There was some people that kind of was teaching, like, they believe that, they abstaining from marriage and not eating certain foods. Everything is acceptable with thanksgiving and prayer. So you can drink wine. You can eat meat. You can marry. But if God puts a urgency in your heart not to do certain things, then it's actually your benefit, not everybody else's. There's maybe some things that you can't do, but others can do. I know a guy a couple of years ago. Some people love kiwi. Some people love it. But it was he decided to have it too. And he kind of felt like he wasn't supposed to eat it, like something was going to happen to him. But he decided to do it anyways. He found out that he was allergic to kiwi. He can't preach to other people, you shouldn't eat that. That's not for other people. That was for you. Some messages God gives you is for you. It's a choice for you to be married. It's a choice for you to drink wine. It's a choice. Eating meats, it's all a choice. But this is the key of what Jesus said in Matthew chapter 15, verse 11. He said, it is not what you put into your mouth that defiles you. It's not what you eat that makes you unclean. That's what he meant. But it's what comes out of you that makes you unclean. And he's talking about the heart. Whenever Jesus always says something, he always get into the root. He always get into the root of something. He always get into the core, the source, because that's where the true problem lays. You can eat anything from pork to beef, deer meat, whatever. It's not going to make you unclean, especially if you receive it with thanksgiving. You will still be clean. but it's what comes out of your mouth. And we talked about this earlier. What comes out of your mouth is what's stored in the heart. If your mouth is bad, if your mouth makes you unclean, that means you have a heart problem. And therefore your heart needs to be purified, needs to be cleansed. Remember what David said? You know what I'm saying? Give me a pure heart and renew a right spirit within me. In other words, clean my heart and give me your Holy Spirit. So just know that when it comes to food and when it comes to drinks, some things you can't eat because you're allergic to it, but the heart, that's what can make you unclean. Your heart has to be fixed. You have to have a clean heart, a pure heart. And when you do, it's going to flow out of your mouth. Out of the abundance of your heart, the mouth speaks. One reason why I started the Instagram page is because I was told by a few atheists that if God is real, then where is the evidence of his existence? I basically was collecting artifacts, but ancient artifacts and discoveries. Always been collecting that as far as the pictures and the information and anything biblical related to it, like, you know, during King David time, King Hezekiah, the days of Ezra, days of Paul, days of Peter, days of Abraham and things like that. It was it was always to benefit mankind and always to strengthen up the faith, because God has these things buried and to be released for a reason. And it takes these biblical archaeologists to discover upon these things. Even kids found things in Israel that sheds light on the scriptures. So when people say, oh, the Bible is not true and things like that is not true, when you look at those archaeological evidence, you kind of change your mind, because these things were not made up. This stuff actually exists, like the house of David, that's been written on a stone. And it kind of reminds me when Jesus said, you know, when Jesus was going to Jerusalem, the Pharisees were like, no, can you please quiet these people? You know, it ain't like them. But like, can you please quiet these people? He said that, you know, even the stone's gonna cry out. You know what I'm saying? Like, all this. Now look at it like, no, these things are gonna be written in stone. You know, and there's a lot of evidence of Jesus. It's a lot. It's a whole lot, and I believe it's going to come to pass where we are going to see more of these findings, and that's why I made the Instagram page biblical_evidence. I had to think of a name, you know, but I'm like, I just name it that, and I've just been growing with people. Like the plate that you see there, display platter with the meaning of Jacob and Joseph. It's a silver gift, and it was made in 1670. Jesus being flogged, being whipped. That was from southern Germany, 1625. It's another one here, and when I was standing by, that was from Belgium, Germany. The road to Calvary. This was in 1510. I'm going to take one of these things home. You know, no, I ain't going to. Descended from the cross, late 17th century, southern Germany, stained boxwood. This is ivory on gilt walnut base, German or Netherlandish, 1620. Silver and glass, 1520, that's when it was made. This is the Judgment of Moses, 1559. And this is ivory, mid-17th century. Yeah, that's just about it. Any ideas you want me to talk about is no problem. I hope you learned something from this, and again, most importantly, what God says is to love Him, keep His commandments, and love one another. As human beings, sometimes we can get emotional and we want to react off of our feelings. It can be in a way of getting people back and trying to get revenge and things like that, just to make ourselves feel better. To be honest with you, that's really a waste of time. It is a waste of time and it always will be. Some things we have to just simply let go.